Hi, and welcome to Decoding AQ, helping you to learn the tools, mindsets, and actions to thrive in an ever-changing world. Hi, and welcome to the next episode of Decoding AQ. I have a very special guest with me here today. I have AntonioNieto-Rodriguez.
Hi, Ross. Nice to be here with you. I love what you're doing. So a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. I was excited when I originally reached out. It was because of the connections through Thinkers 50 and Marshall Goldsmith's 100. So, I mean, this is something I've been looking forward to, our conversation. And I'll cover a bit of your background. But one of the things that intrigued me most, Antonio, when I read it was a world champion in project management. How do you get to be a world champion in project management? Tell me about that.
Yeah, Ross. Well, there is no World Cup on project management. So it's purely marketing. I think
Love
one
it.
of the challenges I face in my career is as soon as you talk project management, it becomes very tactical. Think, oh, what a boring topic. So I worked with some people on branding and said, well, call yourself world champion. I guess, yeah, there is quite some achievements in what I've done, but yeah, it's purely marketing.
I love it. And uh, as my background is brand and marketing,
Yeah,
it's about creating those opportunities for conversations.
exactly.
And I think when you put yourself out there in that way, the authenticity to back it up. I
Mhm.
mean, recognized by Thinkers 50, as I said before, but the award of ideas into practice. So
Mhm.
shifting from theory and concept and academic into where the rubber hits the road, into the traction. And you're also ranked number 17 in the Global Gurus top 30 list,
Mhm.
and authored many books. I think one a couple of years ago, Lead Successful Projects. So I want to dig into that a little bit as well. But essentially, your work focuses on advising senior leaders to lead transformational change. So I guess you couldn't be busier than right now. If senior leaders had a time in history to lead transformational change, it's now. So tell me, how did you get into that? How did you get into change and working with leaders?
Well, yeah, a bit of by chance or by a bad experience, Ross. I spent 10 years in a big consulting firm. Since I started as a junior, they sent me to work in projects. My first task in a big SAP implementation project. This is 1994, I think, for ExxonMobil. My first task that the project manager gave me was, "Can you get coffee for the team?" And I said, "Oh my God." I like to be one of these guys. I want to be a project leader. So, and then I grew. I became almost partner, and I work all the time in projects. I realized how difficult it is to get things done. Not just one project, but then I realized companies have 500 projects or 800 projects. So how the hell can you do 800 if one is already a mess? So I just was very curious about this topic, and it was my topic to become partner. My pitch was, let's build project advisory services, and everybody needs that, leaders, and they said, well, nice topic, we love your passion, you clearly know about the topic, but it's a tactical topic. We don't like it. It's just very tactical. We cannot charge for giving projects, so you're fired. It was a shock. I was like, I'm so passionate. I'm convinced everybody needs that, but senior leaders don't see the value. And that was where I found my purpose, to work and dedicate all my efforts on learning, understanding, sharing, and connecting projects to change, and change to strategy, and change to people. And that's how I've been spending 25 years of my career.
It's amazing, isn't it? The different perceptions people have. Our life is a endless journey of projects, a team, a company, all of these things, they're made up of projects, and these connections cognitively through tactical to strategic.
Mhm.
And I can't imagine now not thinking the structure of projects as being a strategic operation.
Yeah.
And I think the link now to then shifting that for transformational change, both reacting as well as making it happen, designing it from the beginning rather than so you're preempting certain things to invoke a change that's coming. What are some of the challenges that you've seen in the last, year or 18 months of radical shift in terms of where projects and more strategic project management has come to play and has gone well for companies? Can you give me a few sort of stories or examples about that?
Sure, Ross. And I think despite the terrible last year that many people suffer, there is some learnings. And I think in the world of projects, there's very, very good learnings. There is, in generally, I think what I've seen in the last 18 months is something that I've been trying to predict for years: is focus, prioritization. Know what are the top priorities in your company. Don't have 800 projects, transformation. That doesn't work. Choose one or two or three. And thanks to the crisis, companies did extreme prioritization. They drop 80% to 90% of the projects. And they say, what do we need to survive? What do we need to just get alive? And everybody went along. Everybody didn't complain that we were stopping projects, that we were putting the best people in the projects that matter most, and including senior executive dedicating not just 1 hour per month on a project to sponsor, but days during the week to sponsor projects. So I think from what can we do different going forward is keep that extreme prioritization, keep the best people in your projects, and as executives, spend time on them and take decisions with them, bring resources. So that work, we've seen that. The other big learning, Ross, is that has challenged every aspect of project management is the way the COVID vaccine was developed. It was impossible. Nobody would think before COVID that you could do it in less than 10 years. It happened in 10 months. So there were many factors that took place to make this happen. So if a vaccine can be developed in 10 months, which is a tenth of what normally would take, we can change anything we want in the world in a tenth of the time we think. This is about poverty. This is about sustainability. We know we have the formula. Now the formula is clear. Let's make it happen. And we will make a much better world. You can make better organizations. You can succeed with your transformation. It's there. I don't need to tell it. It's there.
And I think what you've hit on there, because one of the concepts that you've been pioneering and things is the hierarchy of purpose and this prioritization. And it's very hard to do, right? To prioritize. Mm-hmm. And, the origin of decide is to cut off. What do we say no to? And one of the challenges when we have all of these projects and we have all of these initiatives, how do we do that? How do we prioritize? And something like COVID coming along gave us that opportunity to really focus and focus in so many areas across so many industries to just show us what is possible. As you say, 10xing the kind of results and outcome in speed or impact or reach. Now, there's many of these prioritizations that people are passionate about. You talked about your passionate prioritization of project management being the thing. There's another pending one that potentially is a larger challenge than COVID in terms of climate. And for many people who are really passionate about it, there's countless, you only have to flick on to Netflix and see how on the edge this is. When will this become a prioritization that it can then rally that same kind of radical transformations that we've seen with COVID in a climate? Will it need another crisis? Or can you think of a better way in that we can think about prioritizing the most essential needs for organizations to operate in?
I love this topic, and I'm not an expert, but I'm learning a lot, and I know you are very close and passionate about this topic too, and what you do with your organization. So I think, unfortunately, I think this is what I think human beings should learn, is that unless there's a huge crisis, and we've seen how many million people we lost with COVID. You don't take action. So I would love that we can change that. I just don't know. I think maybe you know, maybe you have a view, but there is good intent. There's the COP26 now in the UK, in Scotland in November. There is a lot of people behind this, the Bill Gates and many people. And what I think is different in this case is that the new generations is driving. So there is very few people who have created more awareness around sustainability than kids. Greta has done more than the whole European Union, more than the US. Greta, she's a kid, she's 18. So I think we need to listen. I recently gave a keynote around what can we learn from kids. Boyden, the guy in the Netherlands, 16-year-olds, clean the ocean. He didn't want to clean his swimming pool. He wanted to clean the ocean. So I think for me, it's clear. The future is on the kids. We need to let the kids drive. My expectations of current leaders in the world to change the world is almost zero. Very few impact. The kids, if you give them voice, if you give them tools, if you support them, they are going to drive change. So it's a bit radical, but I'm tired of waiting of this crisis to change. And I think maybe let's try something different. Let's just build on the kids. Let them drive. Let Greta and Boyden and all these kids tell us where we need to put the money, where we need to go. And maybe it works.
I like that, Antonio, and this idea of human society needing radical pain, before we go and do something, right? The whole healthcare service is a sick care service, right? We wait till we're ill and then we say, please fix me. We don't do the things that we know we should be doing in order not to get ill. And I think that's a challenge when we come back to our individual lives, to teams and to organizations. We might know what we need to do, but we never necessarily do it until it's, a really burning issue. I want to unpick a little bit of this thought of what is it that makes children so capable of envisaging different futures and so capable of changing mindsets or societies of things. You mentioned two very strong people there that have done it, that we can learn from, that it can be almost a pincer movement. So it's not just, okay, let the children do it, but how the ones that are currently in situ and in place of decision making and of all, authority of budgets and where things are focused on, how can we help them be more like the children in their thinking? Don't clean my swimming pool, but clean the ocean. How can we do that? What is it inside children that lights your smile and that you go, that's where it should be? What are the things inside there that we can learn from?
Well, I created a formula when I was analyzing all these kids and amazing projects. There's amazing Brazil and I call it Inspire, and each letter has something, but it's just in a nutshell, it's having that bigger vision. It's not getting stuck in the swimming pool, but the ocean. And I think we are very pragmatic. The older you get, very pragmatic, and we need to make it work. So let's keep it the scope very narrow, and these kids don't care. And so it's very inspirational. It's very purpose driven. It's not about them making money. I don't think it's about that. It's about creating a bigger, better world. And that's inspiring. When you have a higher purpose, is where people get excited and motivated. And the other thing, I think the one thing with United Nations sustainability goals is that we all love them, but we don't have a clue how to contribute to make successful transformation, successful projects. You need to be able to first understand, touch your heart, and then give me the tools. How can I contribute? If you don't do that, then nothing will happen. So how can we connect so that anybody can put a little bit of their, and this is what I miss often in transformation is, yes, we like the direction. It makes sense. It's going to make us better. But how can I contribute? How can I be recognized? How can I play a space and go home and tell to my family, I'm working on this amazing project? And that misses many times. And it is a very important thing. And kids make it so simple that, it makes sense. Everybody, we want all the kids to help, not just selected people, but everyone. So I would say that's a big difference where people can connect and contribute.
I think maybe structures we've put around ourselves were for a particular function, to create value, stakeholder value, shareholder value, and often to control and to protect things. We have this whole system about, protecting trademarks, IP, competitive advantage, all of these things that almost is counterintuitive to collaboration and innovation. And what I've observed with adults, and as we get older, we tend to get stuck in the mud of the how. So that limits our imagination and our thinking. Mm-hmm. Whereas the children are naive to the how. They just see what needs to be done and hope that the how shows up. And equally, as you pointed out, this opportunity that anyone can contribute, but the way in which you can contribute becomes real to you and becomes easy to you to get started, rather than that entire complexity that we think we need to have every step mapped out, but yet it will be uncovered as we go. So I'm interested in terms of when you're designing projects that are in this world of uncertainty, in this world where things change on a dime, where it's so volatile, how can we be successful in our projects when we're almost doing it in this sea and world of continual and accelerated change? What are some of the practical things that we can do in that sort of environment, Antonio?
Well, Ross, I think your organization is a leading in this space, so I hope I can. I'll give my point of view, but I know you're doing a lot on this, on adaptability. I think, I think there is different areas I'm working. I think project management, for example, every research that you see, McKinsey, Bain, Briley, PMI, they say 70% of projects fail. And for me, that's unacceptable. That's because project management has not evolved. We cannot.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? You wouldn't bet on a project if 70% was going to fail. Would you put your bet on that? Your resources? I certainly wouldn't.
It's terrible. So put your money in the stock market. You might get a bit better return than doing a project that you almost know that it's going to fail. So this is something that upsets me really, really a lot. And it's something that I'm trying to do with reinventing project management with this book in Harvard Business Review. Is we need to do things different. These methods are great, but these are maybe 40 years old. And Agile is great too, but let's put them together. It's not Agile or traditional. It's all of these plus more, with agility, adaptability, is continuous improvement, is exponential growth, is innovation, ideation. So I believe that we have to build the right methodologies or tool set that companies don't have. They have one element, they have a hammer, they have a screwdriver. But when you fix problems at home, you have a whole set of tools. And that's what we're missing. And I think that's what we need to put the attention. Let's build competencies around all these great technologies and techniques and help organizations and leaders to address change better and take opportunity. And the other big thing I think from my perspective, I'm quite critical with projects, is that we used to be, we thought that by documenting everything, you get better control. So if I come to a meeting around my project, I'll bring you 200 pages and you think, well, you are in control because you have 200 pages about your project. And we know that's not true. You can have one page and you can be really on top of your project. So it's about value. It's, for me, project management needs to focus, move from deliverables and artifact. Who can call something an artifact? This is what methodologies today say. Who knows what an artifact? To value, impact. And we need to focus, when you have a focus on how can we create impact quickly, you move away from the tactical, you move away from the concrete things, and you can be much more agile when you focus and you can adapt, when you have a focus on benefits, on impact, on value creation. And that's where I'm trying to push leaders to think about, and the methodologies around it too.
And I think from speaking about our organization, it's a tough gig to do that. This systems that we have in place that generally are looking at activities, right? And not necessarily the outcome and result, because activities have more control of whether we can do it or not. Oh, I did that activity. Well done. Antonio, you said, I do that activity. I did it. The reason I was doing that activity was for this result, but I don't want to be responsible for whether I get the result or not. I want to be responsible for whether I ticked, what I said I was going to do. And so to be brave enough and vulnerable enough that the result and outcome is what really matters, not the activity, is hard. It's really, really hard. Even in an entrepreneurial business where we can make our own decisions and we, can champion that, we haven't got this playbook of debt of process or debt of technical ways we were doing things. And we're reinventing our operating system for the change to be more about outcome and result. And I think that's what entrepreneurs have done very well throughout history, is that they get the result and value from the outcome, the noise and activity from just creating stuff to say, here's my page 198 in my 200 report, look. I think this shift that you talk about, of particularly around transformational change, it's so ingrained of the operating systems we have, of how leaders have been valuable and successful so far. To break that connection is a deep-rooted one. And what I've observed and seen is the odd maverick, the odd person that can show a new way of doing something that can ripple out. That's where all change comes from, the unreasonable person, to see something that they want to shift. And I want to dig in a little bit to this challenge between theory, and you've got a lot of history in academic and writing, and then the real world, of businesses, of lives, of jobs and roles. How can we accelerate and close that gap between theories and ideas and experiments and then getting them going inside organizations? What are the tips or things that you can share with us to try and do more of that? Because I think there's a huge opportunity for us if we can do it.
Sure. And maybe just quickly going back on what you were saying, because it resonated too much about that kind of focus and empowering on getting results. I often tell the project communities that it's like you're running a football team and you don't care about results. You're not accountable of the results of the team, or you have an orchestra and you have all the elements there, every tick has been there, but they don't play well. So I think this is what I really resonates to me on what you were talking, just going backward on that topic. We need to be able to be accountable of the results. If you're leading a football team, or it's about the results, it's you might change how you play, you might change the player, but it's about the results. And so far for many years, we didn't care about the results, and it's time to take accountability on that too. But on the academic part, I think I just amazed how many, and this is my personal perspective, but how many of the academic concepts don't work in reality. I'm just amazed that there are very few, at least in the world where I work. It's just, okay, they give you ideas, but I think it's up to leaders to connect the dots and make them work. You cannot take academic concepts and apply them by the book. That will never work. And I think we've been doing that often. You hear academics proposing things that don't work. And I give you a concrete example in project management or prioritization of projects. They say, well, each project needs to have a business case, and you weight every business case. Yeah, in theory, it makes sense. You will measure things together, but in practice, it's impossible. If you have 800 projects, it would take you 8 years just to calculate business cases. So we need something more pragmatic. So I would recommend, look at academic, because there is for search of ideas, but the only person who can make something work is your team, coaching like you do to get people learn and apply it themselves. So I think this is something that we need to change, and I hope people listen to, be courageous enough to try their own things, develop their own methods and approaches and guidelines and values and principles, because that's what in the end really makes the difference.
And one of the things I've, again, just speaking from my own experience, the challenges of when we talk about results and outcomes, knowing which ones are the right ones to be measuring, right? So we can go, oh yeah, that's easy to measure, so I'll want to be measured by that one.
Yeah.
Whereas, I forget who said it, but not all things that can be counted count, not
Yeah.
all,
I,
and the opposite, whichever that is. And I think one of the real issues many businesses face is in doing the projects, in assessing and prioritizing and looking for outcomes and results, is when it's unknown, when we're imagining things, when we, want to step away from maybe the traditional things that have been counted as the outcome of result, finance or a promotion or sales or reach or these things, to think more holistically about the result. What's the result of the effect on the planet, on next generations, on animals, on all of these things? And for me, that stayed for many years in this silo of, social responsibility. And
yeah.
after we've done some stuff, then we'll go and repair what we messed up, rather than thinking, no, doing it right in the first place is the best way of running things. And so I'm interested, when you think about prioritizing yourself. We reached out, you must have countless opportunities to do interviews, talks, podcasts, all sorts of things. How do people really prioritize what they do and spend their time on? And what is the best way that, maybe how do you do it? Is it about your values or mindset or curiosity? How do you prioritize your time? And then what can we learn from that to scale up to teams and organizations that might be really effective?
It's a great question, and I'm not a guru or maybe the best person on talking about this topic, because I get very easily distracted, and I love, like, you contact me and yes, I love it, I love what you're doing, let's chat. So it distracts you a bit, but then it leads to something else. So, but my whole kind of philosophy is that people talk about their passion. What I found for me, what's more important is your purpose. So purpose helps. It gives you a broader scope of what you can do. And I'm surprised very few people talk about purpose. Finding your purpose is much stronger than just finding your passion. Passion can be more a hobby, and I think it's important, but your purpose is like you have a mission. My mission was, I want to understand projects. I want to make sure that senior leaders understand and they have a tool to make their dreams a reality, to make a better world. So for me, what drives my agenda and my time is how activities that will help me to push my purpose. And talking to you, for sure, I will learn something and we'll connect, and you never know. So it helps me a lot. When it doesn't meet my purpose, I just don't do it. If it's part of that vision and connection and sharing that higher intention for a better world, I love it. So I would recommend for people to finding, passion is important, but what's your purpose? It can be a small purpose. You can just provide to your family, but that's strong. That helps you already to prioritize. If it doesn't provide to your family, then you know that just try not to do it. And the other thing I think is important is be ready to stop things. I think, like any organization, we are very difficult in stopping things. You put an emotional content into everything we do, and it's hard to say, well, I failed, let's stop it, let's be radical. And I think that personally, also by organizational, is we don't manage to stop things and say, it's not the right time. I need to prioritize on something else. If you say yes to everything, that's another a killer. So be able to say, well, for the next 2-3 weeks, I cannot work on that, and I'll come back to you later on. So parking things, stopping things, it's very, very important for me, at least to achieve what I want. But for me, purpose in your own life, it has made everything quite easier for my time to be more effective or better use.
And we're more than just these machines to be effective, as you
Yeah.
said. The purpose gives us this playground to be curious, to be open-minded, to let opportunity show up in alignment and flow,
Yeah.
without us being completely distracted through many things.
Like
But we've got our lane. And if our lane is our, our purpose,
exactly.
that gives us that freedom to go and explore and go and create. And
I
I
like
like that idea. I think that, again, certainly resonates with me, Antonio,
mm,
to think of it in that way. And, the ability to say no is an adaptation for us, because I was certainly brought up that no was something that was rude.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, me
It
too.
was a bad thing.
Yeah,
And, when you go through, growing up, no was something almost like being told off.
yes,
You go through the phase where, as a parent, all you end up saying is no all the time. And so how much of that sticks with us to be afraid to say no when we've started a project and we're vested in it? We've got this sunk cost fallacy of an idea or a project or something that's been going,
mhm,
to think that no is a rude thing or a bad thing. And failure only happens when we, give up after many times. And it's this balance between grit, of passion and perseverance,
yeah,
and being able to say, no, I'm going to stop and turn around. And I remember a great book. It was a Seth Godin one, and it was called The Dip. And it was
mhm,
the difference between a cul-de-sac and a dip, that you do come out of the other end. And only hindsight tells you the difference, right?
yeah,
Of those
yeah,
things. And so
yeah,
I'm just fascinated by the human behavior and the neuroscience of how we make decisions
mhm,
and how we can shift them and give ourselves permission to think differently tomorrow. So I might have said yes today to something,
mhm,
but saying no tomorrow, is that oh, I feel bad about it. I don't want to
yes,
do. I don't want to say to Antonio, oh, I said
yeah,
we'd follow up and call, and I don't want to do it anymore. Am I a bad person? Or I
yeah,
started that project. To reframe that and rethink and get good and elegant and graceful at saying no.
mhm,
And I think that, to me, is one of the greatest opportunities for us in change and adaptation, is to be able to change our relationship with no. And that's seen as just a beautiful thing to be doing, rather than this negative, it ends up with a, red face and a horrible, horrible sense. I wonder what your thoughts are on that.
I love it. I was a big yeah, prisoner of that feeling of saying no, and and yeah, like it's exactly like you, Ross, and then you do no because you're afraid that people will not like you and
Mm,
that you will upset. And if I knew that, I would have used the no much more. And I think you realize that people appreciate that. I
mm,
appreciate when you say, listen, I'm too busy. I'll take care, but come back to me in a month. And I think this is what people are looking, honesty, and not just saying yes for yes, but it makes you stronger. I think I realized that even to your boss, you can say, boss, listen, it's not the right time, or better do it. So I think we also need to be ready to confront leaders and CEOs and say, listen, the way this changes to the project, we can do that, but we're just going to screw the whole project. So up to you, but I cannot do that. I recommend not to do it. So I think learning to speak up and learn to be nice, like you put it, nicely confrontational, is such an important skill
it is.
that we're born with that. No, never say no. And I totally agree with what you said. It changed your life.
Yeah, change it. And in improv, we're taught yes and, to accept something, say yes, and add an and
Yeah.
I think some of these, mental paradoxes that we live in, of
Mhm.
this complexity of being able to choose when to apply a thought or a behavior,
Mhm.
that because we're, oh, yes, no, doesn't mean we say no every time. Just
Exactly.
because we do yes and doesn't mean to say we do it every time. And for me, this adaptability intelligence is to continually reflect and evaluate circumstance and new information, and be able to make an informed choice and decision of what to do next. And so that
Yeah.
we can go into uncertainty with a smile, rather than trepidation, rather than fear. And because
Mhm.
the more we live and the more we go forward, the more uncertainty there's going to be,
Yes.
especially in an exponential world. So getting comfortable with that, I think, is a another very valuable skill. You know, we talk about resilience and the ability to bounce back and all of these things. In reality, this sort of movement that we all have to navigate change is one that we've got to rapidly get good at, you know, and reimagine those things. If people want to learn more about your work, all of the different books that you've written, all of your work, if someone wanted to start to get to understand a little bit more of your thinking and some of your work, which one would you recommend first? Where should they start, and why?
Well, and let me go back again with what you're saying, because you're connecting very well with what I think. About getting used to change is such an urgency. I think that people who were used to change a few years ago maybe would be 10% of the population, maybe 5%, and also in organizations. And most of the people have been working on a structured way with job descriptions. I claim that job descriptions are dead. And job descriptions gives you a structure, it gives you perspective, it's like a floor that you slowly, and suddenly that's gone. So I'm very worried that 90% of the workers, they are not prepared for change. And our human being by nature, we need security to perform. And now you're removing the security and safety to ask us to perform. So I love what you're talking. I just couldn't agree more that if there's something we need to teach people is to be able to live in uncertainty and to know that you have a project today that will last 6 months and we don't know what's going to happen in 6 months, but there will be something for you. And I think this is where I'm just trying to provide some guidance on this to people that, it's not going to be easy. It's one of the biggest changes in human behavior for centuries that we're experiencing right now. And so I love what you're trying to do in your organization is getting people used to change and thrive in change.
Yeah, very, very much so. I mean, and it isn't, I've got that, now I'm done.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I went to the course, I did that piece, cool. You know, it is the life we're now living, the world we're now living in. But I do want to give our listeners the opportunity to, they're excited, they want to learn more about you. There's so much content out there. From you, where would you recommend they start? Which book, which piece, which area do you think would be a great on-ramp to learn more about your mindset, your thinking, your teachings and work, Antonio?
Well, I like my first book was The Focused Organization. I realized that focused organizations where there's clarity on the top are happier companies. People are happy to work in a company where people know what's the strategy, what are the 1 or 2 things they need to do. Even if you work for Ryanair, where you don't really care about the customers, it's about efficiency. People are happy to work because they know that it's about something very clear. And then it translates to yourself. How can you become more focused? Knowing that nature tends to unfocus us. So is a good start. And I would recommend my new book with Harvard is trying to reinvent project management, make it accessible for everybody. It's coming out in September, I think, but it's a very simple hands-on senior project managers who better in the projects. So for that, we need to wait a little bit, but I would recommend to, of course, you will see something new in each of my books, but this one I really work hard with Harvard to do something that is practical and actual so that we can use it right now.
I think that's lovely. And the fact that the first one, the focused organization, you know, doing something for the first time is hard, right? Yeah. And a book, anyone who's done a book or in a project or those sorts of things, the first one's hard. So it's always going to have a special relationship.
Exactly.
And, you know, it's like all artwork. It's never complete. It's just abandoned. You know, at some point we have to go, that's got to get out. We got to ship it. And I look forward to your book in September of reimagining project management. And I think many organizations will benefit and continue to benefit from your work. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation today, Antonio. from a selfish perspective. It's why I started the podcast, to meet great people, have amazing conversations, and to learn about the thinking, and just have this conversational jazz is my happy place. So I really want to thank you for indulging me in that. And I hope some of our listeners have gained some insights, got some questions, and maybe can move forward to a tomorrow where the uncertainty excites them, not the uncertainty scares them. So thank you.
I love it. Thank you, Ross. I truly enjoyed the conversation. I love this type of sessions where you can go forever, and I'm sure we'll not get bored. So thank you for the opportunity.
Pleasure.
Do you have the level of adaptability to survive and thrive the rapid changes ahead? Has your resilience got more comeback than a yo-yo? Do you have the ability to unlearn in order to reskill, upskill and break through? Find out today and uncover your adaptability profile and score, your AQ. Visit AQai.io to gain your personalized report across 15 scientifically validated dimensions of adaptability. For a limited time, enter code PODCAST65 for a complimentary AQME assessment. AQai, transforming the way people, teams and organizations navigate change. Thank you for listening to this episode of Decoding AQ. Please make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast directory, and we'd love to hear your feedback. Please do leave a review, and be sure to tune in next time for more insights from our amazing guests.